All right, so you can comment where you're watching from. Or also you can share this link with somebody. Let's share the link and let people know that we are live. We are live now. So let me also do that on my hand. Okay. All right, so let me know where you're watching from while we wait on others. So we have about 3 more minutes, and all right, so we can share the link. Also, let's know where you're joining us from. Let me know where you're joining from. It's important. All right, so we're 1 minute, 1 more minute, 1 more minute, 1 more minute. So kindly share the link. Share this with your friends. Let them know we are live now. Mhm. All right, 1 more minute. Oh, it's really, really, you know, it's amazing doing this. So kindly share the link. Share. All right, so we're talking on personal leadership. We're talking on personal leadership. Kindly comment where you're watching from. I think this is going to help. So what we want to do is to see how many people and from where you're also joining us from. I think if I can see that, I should be able to see a comment. But just drop a comment wherever you're watching it. To be a pleasure to know where you're watching us from. All right. I'm ready. I believe you're ready too, right? All right. So today we're talking about personal leadership steps to own your growth and lead your life. Personal leadership. I'm speaking on steps to hone your growth and lead your life. Steps to hone your growth and lead your life. That will be our conversation today. And my goal is to challenge us, is to challenge everyone on this call tonight to take responsibility for their life, to take responsibility for your life. And most likely, I'll be showing us how to go about that, to how to do it. So, well, I believe we're going to have an amazing time together. We're going to have an amazing time together. We're going to have an amazing time together. Okay, I think we can get started. It's 8:01 already. It's 8:01. So, all right. You can still drop comments. Let's know where you're watching us from. Let's know where you're watching from. Let's know where you're joining from. And I think it will be a pleasure to know that. Let's know where you're joining from. So I'll be starting with, what do you understand with the word personal leadership? What's your understanding of personal leadership? What's your understanding of personal leadership? But before we talk about personal leadership, we want to discuss what is leadership itself, right? So, but I won't go deeper into what leadership is all about because I'm really more interested in you as a person. So, I will say it this way, that if leadership is being in charge, then personal leadership is being in charge of your person. That makes sense, right? So, if leadership is being in charge, then personal leadership is being in charge of your person. So, you hear words like, is a business leader. So if somebody is a business leader, we are saying the person is in charge of the business, right? The person is in charge of a business. So we call him a business leader, a church leader. The person is in charge of the church. The person is in charge of the church. We say a church leader. We call the person a church leader, a team leader. That's another example. We say team leader, right? So a team leader is someone in charge of a team. So if leadership is being in charge, then what do we call personal leadership? Personal leadership is being in charge of your person. So that's a very simple way to define that. And the question you now want to ask yourself is, who is leading you? Because if we say personal leadership is being in charge of your person, right? So then the next question we want to ask ourselves, or the question we want to ask ourselves rather, is who is leading you? Who is leading you? Who is in charge of your life? Remember where we started. Personal leadership is being in charge, right? Then leadership is being in charge. Then personal leadership is being in charge of your person. If leadership is being in charge, then personal leadership is being in charge of your person. Then we want to ask, who is in charge when it relates to you? Because our conversation today has to do with you as a person. It has to do with you, your personality. So who is leading you? Who is in charge of your life? And I know, so many people of faith will be like, oh, God is in charge of my life. God is this, God is that. Yes, we know God is in charge of your life, but who is leading you really? Who is leading you really? The scripture says in I think Joshua was telling the people of Israelites, he said, choose ye this day who you will serve. So even if you claim God is in charge of your life, Joshua was asking the Israelites, choose you this day, because the choice is still yours to make. So you will not just assume, God is in charge of my life. No, that's a vague thing to say. Choose ye this day who you will serve, because the choice is still yours. So, and I'm saying this because of my fellow, brothers and sisters in the faith. We like to quickly ascribe the leadership of our lives to God. And that's really good. That's really important. Of course, God owns our lives. But at the same time, even God is giving you that power to choose. So Joshua asked the Israelites, he was telling them, say, choose ye this day whom you will serve. So even though God is supreme, he still gives us the power to choose. So when we start asking questions on personal leadership, we get deeper into asking who is leading you, who is in charge of your life. And I'm going to show you in a minute because most people are not in charge of their lives. I'm telling you. And you will see that somewhere in Revelation, I think Revelation 3:20, Jesus was saying, behold, I stand at the door, right? Knocking. So even Jesus is standing at the door. So the fact that it's Jesus does not mean that he barges into your life. He said, I'm standing at the door knocking. It is whoever opens that he enters. So before you say, God is in charge of my life, wait a minute, calm down. Really? Because even God could not infiltrate your life. God cannot take over, cannot take charge if you don't allow him. So because I know that sometimes when we start getting personal with this conversation, people want to hide under religion. God is leading me. God is in charge of my life. But Jesus said, I stand at the door knocking. So the choice of what if I did not open, right? Jesus will keep standing at the door. So who is in charge of your life? As much as, yes, God is in charge of your life, God owns your life, at the same time, God has given you the power to choose. So God expects you to be in charge of your life as much as he's in charge of you. So the leadership of your life still has to come from you. It still has to do with you. Very important. So follow me closely. So here is what I discovered. Most people are not in charge. They are only in sync. Most people are not in charge of their lives. In fact, let me put it that way. Most people are not in charge of their lives. Most people are not in charge. Most people are not in charge of their lives at all. They are only in sync. And I will show you why I'm saying this in a minute. Most people are not in charge of their lives. They are only in sync. They are only in sync with the environment. They are only in sync with the people around them. They are only in sync with situations and circumstances. Not really. They are not really in charge. Remember, our conversation is on personal leadership, right? So we are setting the foundation straight. We are setting things right from the beginning. Now, because for you to be able to lead your life, you've got to know who is really in charge of your life. And that person has to be you. But unfortunately, most people are not in charge of their lives. They are only in sync. They are in sync with environment. They are in sync with people around them. They are in sync with situations, circumstances. Everybody is going this way. Guess what? They are also going this way. Everybody is going that way. They are also going that way. They are also going that way. So what I want you to start doing now is to start reflecting deeply. Am I really in charge of my life, or I'm only in sync with the environment, or I'm only in sync with the people around me, or I'm only in sync with the situation and circumstances around me? Am I really in charge of my life? Am I really in charge of my life? Remember where we started. We said if leadership is being in charge, then personal leadership is being in charge of your person. Personal leadership is being in charge of your person. So, and I made this realization. I said that most people are not in charge of their lives. They're only in sync with the environment. They're only in sync with the people around them. They're only in sync with their situation and circumstances. Not really. They are not really in charge. So how do you know if you're in charge of your lives, or how do you take charge of your lives? My goal this evening is not just to challenge us, but to show us what to do. What to do. So how do you know you're in charge of your lives, or how do you take charge of your lives? Or somebody is asking, okay, I think I'm beginning to get this. Now I want to be in charge of my life. How do I go about that? What do I need to do? Where are the areas I really need to do something about? Where are the areas I really need to work on? To ascertain, to be sure I'm really in charge of my life. There are 5 of them. And these are the 5 areas. 5 areas you must be in charge in order to be in charge of your life. There are 5 areas where you must be in charge in order to be in charge of your lives. Number 1 is your habits. You must be in charge of your habits. You must be in charge of your thoughts. You must be in charge of your words. You must be in charge of your time. And you must be in charge of your decisions. 5 areas you must be in charge: your habits, your thoughts, your words, your time, your decisions. Because this is what personal leadership is all about. If you are not in charge of these 5 areas, trust me, you are not in charge of your lives. You are only in sync. You are only living. You are only just, you are only just following what is happening around you. You are not really in charge until you are in charge of these 5 areas: your habits, your thoughts, your words, your time, and your decisions. So reflect and begin to think deeply. Am I really in charge of my habits? The things you do, are you really in charge of those things? Are you really in charge of your thoughts? Are you really in charge of your words? Are you really in charge of your time? Are you really in charge of your decisions? Because if you are not in charge of these 5 areas, then you are not in charge of your life. I don't know whatever it is, but you are not the one controlling your life. You are not the one you are not even in charge at all. And there's a limit to which you can achieve anything, because greatness in life begins with personal leadership. You can't be a business leader. You can't be a successful business leader or a successful team leader or a successful in leadership in any field begins with personal leadership. So you can't be, if you're not in charge of yourself, you can't be in charge of anything. You can't be in, if you're not in charge of you as a person, your personality, then your leadership will be faulty. Your leadership will be faulty. Now you hear stories, you see all kinds of scandals, all kinds of people having issues and all of that, and you're like, oh, this person, this person, this person. Why? Because most people are not really in charge of their lives. They are in business, they are in church, they are in organizations, they have positions, but they are not really in charge. You know why? Because they are not in charge of their habits. They are not in charge of their thoughts. They are not in charge of their words. They are not in charge of their time. They are not in charge of your decisions. So that's the starting point. If you really want to take charge of your life, then you've got to start paying attention to these 5 areas. Very important. So the question I will ask you is this: are you in charge or you are in sync? Are you in charge or you are in sync? Are you in charge or you are in sync? Are you in charge or you are in sync? You've got to really, really think about that. And how to do that is to master these 5 areas, be in charge of these areas, and you will be in charge of your life. So we are defining personal leadership. We started by saying if leadership is being in charge, then personal leadership is being in charge of your person. That was where we started out. We said if leadership is being in charge, then personal leadership is being in charge of your person. What is personal leadership? Here is another definition. Personal leadership is simply taking responsibility for the outcomes in your life. Personal leadership is simply taking responsibility for the outcomes in your life. Personal leadership is simply taking responsibility for the outcomes in your life. And I'm going to tell you a short story. I'll try to make it as short as possible. Now, it happened that while I was in school years ago, most people don't even know this, because it's kind of hard to believe, but it's the truth. I had issues with communication. I couldn't talk, like I couldn't speak. And specifically, I had issues with English. It was a tug of war. Like it was really something else. I was great in mathematics. I love mathematics. I love calculations. But English, it's always difficult for me. And I didn't really see it as much of a problem because I was still passing, right? I was still doing well in school. I was passing biology, passing mathematics, passing physics, chemistry, all of that. But English has always been a challenge. Primary school, I really didn't pay much attention, but when I got to secondary school, it's dawned on me that this thing is becoming something, I need to pay attention to. But like most people, we don't take responsibility for our lives. We just assume things will be right? We assume things will be better. With time, everything will get better. Or you just keep pushing it. There's an area of your life that you know that you need to do something about this thing, but you keep pushing it. You keep, you keep dodging it. That was exactly what I was doing too. I knew I had issues with communication. I knew I couldn't speak English well, but I was dodging it. I was pretending like everything was fine. So teachers, we come to class, teachers, and they will ask questions like, okay, who asks questions? Or if something is not clear, something like that. I will have questions to ask, but I will not raise up my hand. Not that I don't have a question, but because I don't know how to say my question, because I have to speak in English. And it went on and on and on. I was dodging it. I was dodging it. I was not taking responsibility for that area. I was not taking responsibility. So I will always have this low grade in English. Then something happened. One way or the other, I was being loved by my classmates. So I was the class captain. And okay, before that happened, to communicate was always difficult. As class captain, right? You have to speak to your classmates. There's an instruction from the teacher. You have to pass it across to your fellow class members and all of that. It got so bad that for me to speak in front of the class, I had a friend who will have to write for me what I will say. I will read it, I will memorize it, then I will go in front of the class to say what my friend has just written for me, or to say what he wrote for me. So I only opened up to that, my friend, and told him, I don't know how to say this. This is what the teacher says. And how do I say it correctly? Then he will have to write for me. Then I will go in front of the class and I will do that. I will just read what he has said. But for how long will I continue to live life that way? For how long will somebody continue to write what to say for me just because I couldn't communicate properly? And I was not also taking responsibility for that area. It went on and on, I was still coping, I was still dodging things instead of me to do something about it. And I'm talking to you directly. I'm speaking to you too. You know that area of your life where you really need to do something about. You know that specific area where you need to work on. But you keep dodging it. You're not taking responsibility. You're not leading yourself right. Personal leadership is simply taking responsibility for the outcomes of your life. Some things are coming out in your life. Some things are, some things are coming up. Some outcomes, you are producing some results in your life. Most likely results that you don't want, or results that you want something more, but you're not taking responsibility for it. So this was what happened to me. This particular day, the teacher came into the class and some things happened and I had to stand up to speak. And as I stood up, I was asked a particular question and I responded. And when I responded, it was bad English, like bad. It was really bad. And for the very first time, the whole class laughed. Like I was embarrassed. The whole class laughed at me. They laughed at the way I spoke. Obviously, the English was really bad, but that was the best I could do then, right? That was the best I could do. And the teacher shouted at me, keep quiet. Why will you say this and that? Then he corrected me. After that experience, the whole class members, everybody laughing and all of that, being the class captain, it was even more kind of shameful. At the end of the class, I was just so quiet throughout the class. Of course, I have to be. I was just calm and I was not myself. After the class, I went to the back of a classroom then and I started crying. Started crying. I cried and cried. I cried like I really cried. And I was crying not necessarily because couldn't communicate well. I was crying because for how long will I continue to live this way? For how long will my inability to communicate? For how long will my inability to speak English correctly continue to be a roadblock, or will I say continue to be a disdain to me, to my personality, to what I do? Unknown to me that a day like this will come, that I will have to speak and do all of that. I never knew that I will even have anything to do with speaking and writing and all of these things that I do today. You know, I just want to be a good student. So at that moment, I knew that I have to take responsibility. So I did what I needed to do, got, myself engaged, bought dictionary. I remember then I learned, like, I read dictionary like I'm reading a subject, like I'm reading, I read like crazy. I watch movies. So I started watching movies, differently. Because before, when I watch movies, I just watch and laugh. But now when I watch movies, I'm reading subtitles. I was looking at the subtitles. And don't judge me, because I, I came from an environment where everyone around me speaks our native language. Everybody speaks our native language. So as it's just didn't, like, you don't feel anything. Everybody speaks native language. So not speaking English is not a big deal until I got into school and I knew that I needed to do a lot of things and all of that. But I knew that I can't continue to give the same excuse of my environment or the people around me, this and that. I can't continue to give that same excuse. Something has to shift, something has to change. And that change begins with taking responsibility. So I took responsibility and I started doing everything I could to ensure that I get better. So I started learning the verbs. I started learning all manner of things, watch videos. Then I changed my circle of friends. I started working with friends that the only way I communicate to them is to speak English. So I'll tell them, if I speak wrongly, if I say something that is not right, just correct me. So before I knew it, I started getting better. I started getting better. I started getting better. Today the story is different. A lot of people don't even know this part of me because it's not like, really, you really had issues with English. I've spoken on platforms in different areas, physically, virtually, nationally, globally. I've spoken on different platforms. I've written ebooks. I've written, all kinds of articles and all of that. And, gotten great feedbacks of how impactful the stuffs I do are. And you will not even know I had this kind of story or I had this kind of background. But sincerely, that was where I was coming from. But at a point in my life, I knew I needed to take responsibility. And that's where personal leadership begins. So, what do you need to start doing differently? In what area in your life, in what area of your life do you need to start taking responsibility? Personal leadership is simply taking responsibility for the outcomes in your life. Is this making sense? So, this is what I want you to say. Second Peter chapter 1 verse 3 was saying, his divine power, right, has given to us all things that pertains to life and godliness. God has given you everything. So I needed to quote that scripture because of the next statement I'm about to say. This is not a self appraiser or whatever it is you may want to call it. It's not self glorification or anything. This is what it is. Say this out loud. God has given me everything. Now my life is my responsibility. This is not self glorification. This is the reality. Your life is your responsibility. God has given you everything. God has given you everything. Your life is your responsibility. I started by, sharing for people in the faith how Joshua said, choose ye this day whom you will serve. So even God wants you to make a choice. In Revelation, Jesus said, I stand at the door knocking. So even Jesus is standing at the door. Until you open, it won't come in. Your life is your responsibility, guys. That's what I'm saying. Your life is your responsibility. And even God respects that. So God has given you everything. Now your life is your responsibility. Your life is your responsibility. This is where personal leadership begins. The point where you get it, that my life is my responsibility. There's nothing else you need again. Your life is your responsibility. Whatever it is you make out of it is your responsibility. Is your responsibility. So I want you to note these things down. Number one, personal leadership begins where excuses end. Personal leadership begins where excuses end. Personal leadership begins where excuses end. And I'm going to give you a scenario. Two graduates finish school at the same time, right? Let's assume we have this scenario, and it's everyday life experience that we see all around us. You see people, all manner of people, different people having the same background, the same story. One turns out differently, the other one turns out, the other way around. So let's imagine this scenario: two graduates finishing university at the same time, serving at the same time. Probably they served in the same state. Probably they went to the same university. Probably they studied the same course, right? Living in the same country. So both will be looking for a job, right? The two of them are looking for a job after school. You want to get something doing and all of that. So see it this way. One is complaining there is no job. Another one is volunteering and living and learning skills, learning relevant skills, improving himself. The other one is saying, I'm done with school. At least I've studied in school. I've done everything I need to do. All I need now is just a job. I'm just looking for a job. Two graduates, the same degree, the same university, the same country, the same situation, the same opportunity. One is waiting and complaining. The other one is learning skills, acquiring relevant skills, volunteering, whether they pay him or not, whether paid volunteering or free volunteering, whichever one, is just actively throwing himself out. Between these two, who among them, or who between the two of them, who among them do you think will most likely turn out successful? Obviously, is the guy volunteering, the guy learning skills, the guy doing everything he can to make sure he makes an headway. To make sure he makes a headway. Now, the other one is sitting down and complaining, right? I'm saying, there's no job in the country, there's this and that. Two people, different sense of responsibility. The day you stop giving excuses is the day you start leading. The day you stop giving excuses for your life, the day you stop giving excuses, the day you stop, accepting that, probably this is how everything is, and things go better, and the way we say it. The day you stop giving those excuses is the day you start taking responsibility. It's the day you start leading your life. We said personal leadership is simply taking responsibility for the outcomes of your life. So it begins where excuses end. The day you say it is enough, enough is enough. From that day, you start leading yourself. From that day, you start leading. If you keep giving excuses, you are not in charge. We said something. Your thoughts, right? You think, this and that. You are not in charge of that. You are not in charge of your thoughts. You are not in charge of your time. You are not in charge of your decision. Who is making those decisions for you? So, but the day you decide yourself that excuses end today, that day you start leading. That day you start leading yourself. So, personal leadership begins where excuses end. Another thing to note, if you don't take charge of your life, someone else and something else will control it in a different direction. If you don't take charge of your life, someone else and something else will control it in a different direction. It's so funny that a lot of people going through life, everybody just moving in different direction. But the sad truth is that most people are moving in the direction of where other people are leading them to life. They are just swerving them left, right, center, moving them about. Because if you don't take charge of your life, someone else will control it for you. And most likely, it will be in their own direction. It will be in their own direction. It's like if you don't know where you're going, then you will most likely follow anybody anywhere. You will most likely follow anybody anywhere. The whole concept of personal leadership is about you deciding, taking charge, taking charge of your own life, and not even hiding under God now, not even hiding under religion, that God is in charge. Because even God said, choose you. He gave you that power of choice. He leaves the decision to you to make. Right? So if you don't take charge of your life, someone else will control it, and most likely in a different direction. And there is another thing to note. What you don't do will remain undone. What you don't change will remain the same. And this is so powerful. This is so powerful. This is so powerful. What you don't do will remain undone. What you don't change will remain the same. What you don't do will remain undone. What you don't change will remain the same. It will remain the same. So, at what point do you want to start leading your life? At what point do you want to start taking responsibility? At what point do you want to get it that if you don't do something about this thing, it's going to remain the same? I was there too. I thought I would get better, I was dodging it. I was dodging it until that painful experience that made me cry. And at that point, I knew I need to do something about this, my communication. I need to do something. Now, just imagine that till, I was pushing it back. Imagine I was pushing it back. Imagine I didn't do anything. Imagine I didn't take responsibility. A lot of people wouldn't have been blessed with whatever it is, with the things I do. Of course, there is no way I would have been able to communicate those things in the first place. There is no way I would have been able to communicate them, because most likely I will even shy away from anything. Even if I have ideas in my mind, even if I have things I want to communicate, even if I have helpful things, even if I have stuff that I feel can bless lives, I will have been hiding, because there's no way to communicate those things. Imagine I never, took that responsibility to do something. And that's the painful thing. Responsibility that you are not taking, you are hurting a lot of people you don't know. Some people are tied to your responsibility, to you taking responsibility. I wish I can say this in a way you understand. Some people are tied to that height that you ought to get to if only you will take responsibility. So if you don't take responsibility, you may not get to that height. And those people who are tied to that level of greatness that has been ascribed to you will not be able to enjoy. They will not be able to see and to lay hold on that which they should have gotten from you. So something about you is tied to other people, but you cannot release your greatness to the world. You cannot be that blessing that you have been called to be if you don't take responsibility on those areas where you need to take responsibility. I don't know those areas. I just shared one of mine with you that I needed to take responsibility. But you know what you need to do. It's so funny that most people know what to do to succeed. I tell people all the time, don't waste your time. People know what to do. You are on this call tonight. You are watching me live tonight, not necessarily because you don't know what to do. You know what to do. You know what to do to be successful. So let's come off it. You know it. You know the stuff that if you do this thing for the next 5 years, your life will be completely different. You know there are things you need to do. You know those things. But you just aren't doing it. You're not doing it. So most people know what to do to succeed. The problem is not lack of knowledge. The problem is lack of you taking responsibility, your inability to take responsibility. You are not in charge of your life. And that's why I said most people are not in charge. They are only in sync. We said that earlier, right? Most people are not in charge of their lives. They are only in sync. They are only in sync with the environment, with the people around them. They are just flowing along. They are not. Because you know what to do. You know what to do. Don't tell me you don't know. You know what to do to succeed. You know what to do to change your current position, to change your current level. You know what you need to stop doing, and you know what you need to start doing. You know, but you're not just doing it. You see what I'm saying now? You're not just doing it. And that's where personal leadership is. Your ability to take responsibility for your own life. You have people you are leading as a team. You have people, probably in your business or in your organization and all of that. Fine, good. Or you're even in church, good. But how are you leading you yourself? Everybody around you keeps changing levels, keep changing position. Things keep getting better for them. Some of your friends years ago, that you were both looking for job together and all of that, many of them have gotten jobs. You know what they do. They told you what they did. They told you the courses they bought. They told you the kind of sacrifices they had to make. You know. But you're not just taking responsibility. And for how long will you continue this way? This is January ending. Today is 30th of January. And that's why we're having this conversation. Because this year is going gradually. Remember what you said, January 1. 2026 is my year. It's going to be my year. It may not be your year if you keep on doing the same thing you have been doing over the years. You taking responsibility, that's where the magic happens. That's where the miracle happens. So you still have time. We still have 11 more months to go. 11 months is a great, it's pretty much to do something with your life, to make a change. So tonight you need to start thinking, am I really in charge of my life? Because what you don't do will remain undone. What you don't change will remain the same. It will remain the same. And there is something funny. Aging is natural. It takes nothing. But growth is intentional. It takes everything. What do you do to grow old? Nothing. Nothing. You don't have to do anything. You just grow, just age. You don't have to do anything. You are just +1 every year. You are adding 1 year. You are just adding a year. Every year, every new year, you add 1 year. Aging is natural because it's natural. It takes nothing. It just happens. But growth is intentional. It's intentional. If you are 20 this year, you don't have to do anything to be 21 next year. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to do anything. If you are 20 this year, you don't have to do anything to be 21 next year. Just be alive. Once you're alive, you're 21 next year. But if you are making, let's say, 40,000 or 50,000 this year, then you've got to do something to make 100,000 or 200,000 next year. You don't have to do anything to move from 20 years old to 21-year-old, right? Natural. It just happens. It takes nothing. But to move from earning 50,000 naira to earning 100,000 or 200,000 or more, it takes growth. It takes intentionality. It takes everything. Aging is natural. It takes nothing. But growth is intentional. It takes everything. It takes everything. I believe we are learning something, right? I believe we are learning something. So, as I begin to tie this up, let's talk about steps to hone your growth and lead your life. So, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? There are things you know already, so I'll just reiterate them. What do you need to do? Like I said, people are at the level where they are, not for lack of knowledge, but the inability to take responsibility. The inability to take responsibility. So, steps to hone your growth and lead your life. Number 1, decide. No more excuses. No more excuses. I cried that day from the story I shared. I was crying bitterly because I knew I was just living life based on it. I was just giving myself unnecessarily excuse until that day happened and everybody laughed. It was embarrassing, extremely embarrassing. But do you know that, as embarrassing as it was, that wasn't what changed the situation for me. It was the point I now decided that, you know what, enough is enough. I need to do something about my communication skill. I need to do something about my inability to speak English specifically. It was at that point that things changed. Decision decides destiny. Decision decides destiny. Right? It sounds like, okay, but that's just the truth. The decision you make are the things that decides your destiny. There's this old story of two guys who went to a fortune teller to see what their future will be. Then the fortune teller told the first guy, say, you're going to be a king. That's what I see in your destiny. The other one, he said, you're going to be a servant. That's your destiny. And the two guys, left the house of the fortune teller. Of course, the guy that was told that I will be a king was really excited. That, oh, they said I'm going to be a king. That's my destiny. The guy that was told that he was going to be a servant was down. He was dejected. He was sad. Why? Why would I have to end up a servant? Why is that my destiny? Then he made a decision that, you know what? I'm not going to be a servant. I will work. I will do everything I need to do to have a better life. I will ensure that everything about my life is different. The other guy that was told he was going to be a king did nothing. Like, just went home, chilling, relaxing, waiting for the time that he will eventually become a king. The other guy that was told he was going to be a servant went to work on himself day and night, investing in himself, doing all manner of stuff. Years later, when it was time to choose a new king, the community decided we need a wise king. We need a hardworking king. We need a king that has track record, that has proven, it's just like we have these days now. Before you can be, crown a king, of course, you can't be a non-entity. There has to be some track record in your life. There has to be some achievements you've had in the past. There has to be something about you that qualifies you to be, to be made a king. So the community said, we need somebody to be a king and blah, 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 and this and this and that. The other guy that was told he was going to be a king, that was your destiny, was like, okay, obviously it's my destiny, I have to be a king. And then they look at his track record. What have you done? Nothing. Just waiting on destiny. The fortune teller said, I'm going to be a king. So I've just been chilling and waiting for the time to be a king. He said, no, you are not qualified. Said, that can't be possible. It's my destiny. Yes, it's your destiny, but your decision, the decisions you've made now is altering that destiny. Even though it's your destiny to be a king, but the decisions you've made are not kingly. Your decisions were not kingly. But then they said, there's another guy, there's another man, very hardworking. He has this, he has done this, he has done that, he has a track record. They went look for him, got the guy. Long story short, the guy became a king. The one that was told to be a servant, who decided that I'm not going to be a servant. I'm going to do everything I need to do. Eventually became a king. Became the king. Then the one that was told you will be a king, guess what? Ended up as a servant, serving the king, serving the other guy. Destiny, can we say interchange? Not necessarily, but their decisions made a difference. Decide no more excuses. Stop pushing back. Start taking responsibility for your life. I read something one time very powerful. It says excuses are the nails used to build the house of failure. Excuses are the nails used to build the house of failure. That's really, really, It's so striking. Excuses are the nails used to build the house of failure. You know what that means? Each time you make excuse, each time you make an excuse, guess what you're doing? You are building a house of failure. You're building a house of failure. Each time you're making excuse for why you are not using your time wisely, you are building a house of failure. Each time you're making excuses for not doing what you need to do, you're building a house of failure. Each time you're making excuses for the hard decisions that you should make, for those tough decisions that you should make, you're building a house of failure. Each time you're making excuses for decisions, for actions that you need to take, you're building a house of failure. Excuses are the nails used to build a house of failure. I hope that after this uh, live stream tonight, somebody will go back and make a decision tonight. That will be my greatest joy. That after tonight, you will decide, you will make that decision that, you know what, henceforth, the direction of my life now depends on me. I will take responsibility. So ask yourself, what are the small steps I can take beginning from today towards my big future? What are the small steps I can take beginning from today towards my big future? What are the small steps I can take beginning from today towards my big future? Very important. Very important. What are the small steps I can take beginning from today towards my future? Towards my future. What are the small steps I can take beginning from today towards my future? And start taking those steps. Start taking those steps. You know what to do. I said it. You know what to do. You know what to do. You know what to do. Just do it. Right? Number two, steps. We are considering steps to, own your growth and lead your life. Steps to own your growth and lead your life. Right? Steps to own your growth and lead your life. Number one, decide. No more excuses. No more excuses. Number two, do what must be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. Do what must be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. That's number two. Do what must be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. Truth of the matter, you won't always feel like doing anything. That's the truth. You won't always feel like doing anything whatsoever. You won't always feel like doing anything. But people who really grow, people who really lead their lives, are people who do what must be done, even when they don't feel like it. So, what you do is not a function of how you feel, it's a function of what must be done. What you do is not a function of how you feel, it's a function of what must be done. I read something very powerful. Discipline is leadership. Discipline is leadership. And that really struck me differently. Discipline is leadership. And it's because leaders don't wait to be motivated, they act on discipline. So if you really, really want to lead your life, it can't be by motivation. It's got to be by discipline. Motivation can get you started, but it takes discipline to really be in charge of your life. You've got to be disciplined. Leaders don't wait to be motivated, they act on discipline. Guess what? Nelson Mandela was not motivated, he was disciplined. Motivation could have got him started, right? Wanted freedom for the blacks in South Africa. He could have been motivated. Guys, we are doing it. We are doing it. That's what we want. We want freedom. But when it was time to go to the prison, that wasn't motivation. That was discipline. Because if you follow through, even the story made us understand that Mandela was offered options of, let go, leave these people. We can take care of you. We take care of you. We can settle you. More like, let's bribe the leader, right? Let's bribe you. You are good. We can take care of you. Just forget these people. But at that point, he knew what he wanted, because leaders don't wait to be motivated. They are not moved by motivation. It's discipline. Because you won't always be motivated at truth. You won't always be motivated. No, 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 no. There are some mornings you wake up, you don't even feel like doing anything. So what keeps you going on those mornings? It's discipline. It's discipline. And discipline is not sweet, right? Discipline is tough. Discipline is hard. It's really tough. It's really tough. Because sometimes you just don't want to do anything. And you just wish that somebody can do this for me and all of that. People can do stuff for you. But the most important things in your life are things only you can do. People can give you stuff, they can give you all kinds of things. But you see where you're going, that greatness you're dreaming of, nobody will give it to you. You've got to get it yourself. You've got to get it yourself. Haven't you realized that people cannot raise you beyond their own level? People cannot raise you beyond their own level. But you can raise yourself beyond people's level. You can raise yourself beyond whatever level people want to raise you to. Like I don't know if that clicks. So this is what I'm trying to say. If you have, let's say, if you have 10,000 naira, right? If you want to help somebody, you want to lift them up. Out of 10,000 naira, if you are very benevolent, you are very generous. Out of the 10,000 naira, you can give them maybe 4,000 naira, right? Or highest, you say, okay, 5,000, 50-50. Take 5,000, let me also keep 5,000. Or at the highest level, you now give them maybe like 9,000 naira. Like, I so much, really want to help you. Out of this 10,000, take 9,000, let me hold on one. Let me hold on to one. But do you know that the person you are giving the money to, if that person can take responsibility, if that person can take responsibility for his own life, instead of coming to you to beg for 5,000 naira or 2,000, that person can make 20,000 naira. So even when people want to help you, they will only help you to the level where they can, or their own level at most. They help you to their own level. But you can help yourself to a level higher than whatever people could have done for you. So that's what I'm trying to tell you, that there's so much you can do with your life if only you will take responsibility, if only you will decide to be in charge of your life, to lead your life. And that only comes by discipline. Guys, it's going to take more than motivation. Discipline. Discipline. So leaders don't wait to be motivated. They act on discipline. They act on discipline. Really important. Then point number 3, live your life with vision. Live your life with vision. Steps to own your growth and lead your life. We said number 1, decide no more excuses. Number 2, do what must be done, even when you don't feel like doing it, or even when you don't feel like it. And then number 3, live your life with vision. Live your life with vision. Live your life with vision. Vision gives your life direction. Vision gives your life direction. There's nothing as worse as you not knowing where you're going. At the end of the day, leadership is leading, from point A to point B. So if you are moving from point A and you don't even have any point B in mind, you have no direction, you're just going, then you're not leading. You're just taking a walk. You're just vacillating and just wandering around. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of people are doing. A lot of people are just wandering through life. They are just wandering through life because their lives has no sense of direction, no sense of vision. Vision gives your life direction. Vision helps you focus on what truly matters. Not everything matters for you. Not everything matters to you. Vision defines what matters and what requires your focus. You are a limited resource. You can't be dissipating energy everywhere. So your energy has to be conserved to a particular area in your life. So something has to be guiding your life. Vision are like goals. Imagine a football field with no goalpost. 22 players, everybody just running on the field. There's no goalpost. Then it's so empty. So what makes the game interesting is that there's a goalpost. And what even makes the game more fun and more profitable is that somebody must score goals, somebody must win. We must have results. So game is even, football or whatever game it is, whatever it is you do, game, basketball, all these sports, it's a game of results. Sport is a game of results. So if sports could be a game of results, how much more your own life? Your life is also all about results. You can't be moving through life with nothing, just wandering around. Vision must help your life. Vision must guide your life. So live your life with vision. Live your life with vision. Live your life with vision. That's how you grow. That's how you lead your life. There's a vision guiding my life. I have something I'm thinking. I have vision for my life. You should have vision for your own life too. In 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, in 20 years' time, what's the vision? Where are you going exactly? If you know where you're going exactly, then you can now begin to identify the things that will take you there. If you know, okay, will I be taking flights to get there, or will I be taking a bus, or will I be taking a tricycle or a motorbike or whatever it is? But if you don't even know where you're going, then you can't even decide what will take you there. You can't decide what will take you there. So vision gives your life direction, and vision helps you focus on what truly matters. And this is where I'll be wrapping it up. In 5 years' time, you will be somewhere. The question is where? In 5 years' time, you will be somewhere. The question is where? And maybe 5 years even looks like too far away for you. In 2 months, in 5 months, in 10 months, in 1 year, in 10 years, in a couple of time, you will be somewhere. The question is where? You see, that where is in your hand. That where is a function of the responsibility, the amount of responsibility you are willing to take. That where is a function of how well you are being able, how well you're able to lead yourself. It's a function of personal leadership. That way is a function of personal leadership. In 5 years' time, you will be somewhere. The question is where? The question is where? So this is where I'll be wrapping it up for tonight. I believe it's been an amazing session. If it has been helpful for you, let me see. Let me see you drop something in the comment section. How helpful has this been for you? So I will take one question. I'll take one question. We started like 5 minutes early, so I want to wrap this up by 1:05. That will be exactly 1 hour. So well, I'll take one question if there is any. If there is none, it's fine. My goal tonight is to make sure that everyone on this call tonight, you go back, think about your life, think about what areas you need to start taking responsibility on, and from tonight, you are not just living your life in sync with other people, in sync with the environment, but now you're now in charge. You're in charge of your time, you're in charge of your decisions, you're in charge of your thoughts, of your habits, you're in charge of your life. You're in charge of your life. So I'm trying to see if there's any question. So if we have any question, then you can drop that. If there is none, it's fine. We'll just wrap it up here. So, but how has this class been for you? How has this class been for you? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you too. Thank you too for following. Thank you for following. All right. So it's 1 hour already, and that will be all for today. Personal leadership. Steps to own your growth and lead your life. Decide, no more excuses. Do what you must do, even when you don't feel like it. And three, live your life with vision. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. I really appreciate. And my desire and my hope is that something about this conversation tonight will shift something in you, will make you, go back and reflect deeply about what you need to do, areas where you have been lacking behind, where you know there are things you need to do. You start taking responsibility in those areas. And I believe that you have the grace already, right? God has given you everything. Don't forget what we said. God has given you everything. Your life is your responsibility. So you don't have to, God is waiting on you as much as you're waiting on Him. God is waiting on you as much as you're waiting on Him. So go out there and take responsibility. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's have a wonderful night rest. God bless you.